Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. You're watching another one of my YouTube guitar building videos. If you're new to my channel and like videos on building guitars, welcome. I hope that by the end of this video, I'll have earned your subscription. What I'm going to talk about today, if you haven't already guessed, is wood glue. However, I'm not going to be doing comparison tests between different brands and types of wood glues to see which ones are stronger or anything like that. There are a ton of videos out there that do that already. And in fact, part of the reason why I'm doing this video is because a couple weeks ago I saw some videos from a gentleman who has a YouTube channel where he does some very interesting tests specifically related to clamping pressure, clamping times, and different types and brands of wood glue. And his videos I found very interesting. Most of what he says in his videos jives with what I've learned over the years using these different kinds of glues. And I'll put a link probably above and down below in the description to his videos so that you can go check them yourself. I'm not going to rehash what he says in those videos, but there is one thing that I found common in all these different videos that talk about different kinds of wood glues, and that is they never seem to talk about the temperature in which you apply the wood glue. And believe it or not, the temperature is critical to get a good joint between two pieces of wood that you're gluing together. Titebond, they typically recommend that the material and the glue be at or above about 50 degrees Fahrenheit or about 10 degrees Celsius. You can actually go a little bit lower than that, but I like to round it up just to play it safe. But that's the temperature that they recommend that you glue the materials together. If the temperature falls below that, let's say you're working in a really cold workshop, there is a very good chance that the bond is going to fail, or it's not going to be as strong as it should be if the glue was used at the right temperature. A lot of woodworkers and carpenters will use the term glue chalking, and what that means is when the glue dries, it can develop this sort of white chalky appearance. That happens when the two pieces were glued together below the recommended temperatures for the glue to be used at. And when the glue chalks, the glue is going to fail. So if you notice that happening when you glue two pieces of wood together, that joint is not going to last, and at some point there's going to be seam separation and you're going to have the glue joint fail. In the past, I've done videos where I've talked about the reasons why I don't like to make laminated guitar necks. And one of the reasons why I don't is because oftentimes when guys make laminated guitar necks, they're gluing them up in their workshop, which may be well below the recommended temperature. And as a result, those laminations are not ideal. Anyways, that's a topic for a different video. So you want to make sure that the glue and the materials that you're gluing together are at least 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius or warmer. Now, there's probably an upper end to that, but I think that's going to probably be, over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's probably not something you really have to worry that much about. It's that lower end where things can become a problem. Furthermore, when you store the glue, you want to make sure that you're storing it in room temperature setting. You don't want to run the risk of the temperature falling below freezing. And if it happens in your workshop occasionally where the temperature drops below freezing during the winter months, if that happens, if the glue freezes or even partially freezes, it's no good anymore. You have to get rid of it and get a fresh bottle of glue, because once it freezes, it loses its ability to do a good bonding joint, and it doesn't come back when you thaw it out. So your best bet is just to replace the glue and then store it in a temperature that's going to be above freezing, and preferably at room temperature in your house. And since it's not flammable, there's no reason why you couldn't store it in a warmer room somewhere. Now, another glue that rarely gets talked about in the world of guitar building is Gorilla Glue. Gorilla Glue is a totally different type of resin. It's a polyurethane resin, and it has a much wider range of operating temperature. It's anywhere from like 40 degrees Fahrenheit or roughly 4 degrees Celsius, all the way up to about 130 degrees Fahrenheit or 54, 55 degrees Celsius. So it has a wider range of operating temperatures. However, a lot of folks don't like to use this because when you use Gorilla Glue or the polyurethane glues, they tend to foam up when you glue pieces of wood together. However, I've found that there are some really good uses for Gorilla Glue. Specifically, if you're gluing a fretboard that is made from a really oily type of wood like cocobolo or Bocote. When you glue that down to the neck, which might be either mahogany or maple, this type of glue is going to give you a much better bond. There's not going to be any risk of the glue failing because of the oil that's present in the glue or in the wood. So that's really the only times that I ever used the polyurethane glue. Now, one thing I found was interesting as I was doing research for this video is that there's a lot of misinformation out there. If you were to get 10 woodworkers into a room and ask them, what kind of glue is Titebond? Half of them are going to say it's a PVA or polyvinyl acetate glue. The other half is going to say it's an aliphatic resin glue. And according to Titebond, all of their wood glues, the entire range of wood glues, and I've just got two of them here. I've got the original and the Titebond 3, but they also have Titebond 2, and then they have some different formulations for different situations in woodworking. All of their Titebond glues are PVA, polyvinyl acetate glues. However, for some reason, there are a lot of folks out there who think that it's an aliphatic resin, and that's a different type of wood glue. So, unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation out there. I looked up wood glues on Wikipedia, and it said that any white glue, like Elmer's, is a PVA, polyvinyl acetate glue, and any yellow glue, like woodworking glues, is an aliphatic resin wood glue. But then Titebond themselves contradicted that. So it's very difficult to find accurate information. So I go by what Titebond says. If they're telling me this is a PVA wood glue, then it's a PVA wood glue. So I follow that recommendation and that advice. And those type of glues, they work very differently. If you're going to use an aliphatic resin wood glue, I recommend that you purchase a glue which is labeled aliphatic resin wood glue. Otherwise, you know, if you're buying Titebond because you think it's an aliphatic resin wood glue, you'd be wrong. Now, the way these glues work is when you apply them to the surface of the wood, they penetrate into the wood fibers that are on the very surface of the wood. Then when you bring two pieces together with that glue will cause the fibers from the two different pieces to kind of intermingle while it's wet. And as you clamp it, they're forced and knotted together. And then when the glue dries, those fibers are bonded together in that knotted fashion. It's sort of like stitching the wood together. So you get a very, very strong bond. And when you try to separate the wood, typically what happens is the wood splits around the surface where the glue is. So the wood itself will fail before the glue does, but that's only if everything is done correctly. And that includes making sure that you apply the glue at the right temperature. And it's not just the air temperature, but the temperature of the glue itself, as well as the parts that you're gluing together. So in summary, you want to make sure when you're using a polyvinyl acetate PVA type wood glue that you're using it at a temperature that is appropriate for the glue, which is typically going to be 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius and warmer. Anything below that, there's a chance that your wood glue is not going to bond properly. So I hope you found this video to be useful. If so, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And until the next episode, take care, stay safe, and I hope you'll be back for future guitar building videos.